Hello, welcome to Mining Now. I'm your host, Jared Downey. Joining me is Gowdy Molina. Good morning, Gowdy.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm recovering. I tried to go camping in April and got rained out for a couple days straight. So that was fun.
I've done that.
Yeah, it's bad time of year to go camping, but that's okay. We have a great show. Mm-hmm. Today we have part twos, which are always exciting. Kal Tire Mining Group is coming back on the show. One of the last guests, Dave Allen, is coming on with a new guest. Let's make sure I get the name right. Scott Farnham is joining it. He's the director of recycling services. So we're going to be covering their tire recycling plant in Chile. Ooh. It is very interesting technology. It's essentially changing the way that where tires go in the mining industry once they're done.
And they're not small.
They're not small. And if you look at some of the numbers in Chile alone, never mind the rest of the world in mining, the amount of tires that they go through is actually staggering. Yeah. So we're going to talk about why they built it, how they built it, where, partnerships, everything, where they hope to go with it. Yeah. Lots to cover. Before we do that, Gowdy, who are our sponsors?
Alrighty, so let's start with the Bucket Shop. The Bucket Shop provides wear solutions for all mining bucket applications that extend life cycles of 3 to 4 times. They help clients improve productivity and reduce operating costs by providing innovative options, including their 5-piece cast lip system, cast heel shrouds, and mechanical 2- and 5-piece buckets with optional disposable front ends. Beyond buckets, they also provide truck box assemblies and liners, custom builds, undercarriage systems, ground engaging tools, and abrasive blasting and painting. You can begin your savings today by visiting thebucketshop.ca. We also have Savannah Equipment. Savannah Equipment supplies new and used mining equipment around the world, from placer to underground to ore processing plants. They have gold concentrating tables, trommels, and mineral jigs in stock now to take advantage of the high gold prices. You can visit them at savannahEquipment.com, where you will find more equipment every day. Next up, we also have KG Industries. KG Industries specializes in manufacturing specialty heavy-duty axles. If you need self-steer, forced-steer, or off-highway axles, they work with companies on engineering axles for their specific needs. KG Industries axles are built to outlast the service life of the equipment they are used on, with designs that make the axles easy to service. Whether you are moving mining equipment, cranes, or even rockets, KGI will help you perfect the design. Visit them at kgi.ca to learn more. Again, that is kgi.ca. And next up, we also have PowerZone. When you need a specialized team of world-class engineers for your oil and gas pipelines, dewatering, or any fluid handling needs, you want to visit powerzone.com. In addition to their inventory of rebuilt pumps, motors, engines, they also have an amazing team to design and engineer your systems, no matter the challenge, no matter the location. Get in the zone with PowerZone. Visit them at powerzone.com. And last but not least, we have CIM. Don't forget, CIM Convention and Expo is coming this May, which is like around the corner, May 3rd to 6th. You can register today at CIM.org so you don't miss out on lots of technical talks, Q&A sessions. Again, that is CIM.org. Go and register because it's here May 3rd to 6th.
Exciting.
Yes.
Thank you, Gowdy. Okay, Dave, Scott, welcome to the show. Dave, good to have you back. Scott, hope you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be here.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, we touched on Dave, last time you were on, we touched on the recycling just a little bit. So it's kind of nice. These part twos are good because we don't have to do the intro where the company's outreach is, and we get to actually dive into a specific topic. So this recycling plant, let's just jump right into it. This recycling plant in Chile, it's quite an undertaking. For the Kal Tire Mining Group, why was it important to pursue something like this?
I think the biggest piece of this is just to make sure that we're able to help customers through any issue that they have related to tires. We spoke before, we want to be in the service life of our customers from start to finish. And this was a big piece. Kal Tire had always looked at recycling as a way to help mines. Say, in remediation, they're closing, the reclamation, they're closing, and we would look at recycling. Recycling is great. Shredding tires, moving them into playgrounds, or creating other items from recycled tires is great. The issue with that, though, is at some point it still ends up in a landfill. So I think the next step would be, how do you get things moving in a circular economy? So how do you actually use these tires, recycle them into something else that can be done again, and possibly again and again, and maybe offshoots of other products from tires? So it's really just about a service solution for our customers and how we can achieve that.
So Scott, I know you're sort of the very, very integrated into the actual plant itself. So can you just give us that sort of bird's eye view of what we're talking about when this at this recycling facility?
Yeah, I mean, Dave touched on shredding, but this is a technology called thermal conversion. And what that is heating tires in a vacuum, and it makes the components gasify into the original elements that made to go into the tire. And what we want to do was have a circular economy and have, as Dave touched on, the materials be able to use again and again, not just one time. So it's we've got a very large plant. These are super large tires here. So everything had to be supersized. We had to do the design process to make that happen. Legislation was also being developed in Chile, and we had to have a sense of what the government was working toward. So we're progressing to determine that solution, and then also listening to the customers and what their needs were at the table. Because anywhere in the world we go, the customers have the same problem: what to do with all these tires. We also had to meet all the environmental laws in Chile, which are very strict. It took a long time to get our environmental approval. We're the only plant in Chile that currently has that. So the Chile government had developed this legislation, which was probably the most stringent in the world, which is very commendable. They did their due diligence. And for me, I think it's the industry leading legislation. I wouldn't be surprised if other countries follow that. Of course, we're also committed to having the highest safety and environmental standards. You might know Chile is very earthquake prone. So we had to do special engineering to be able to withstand that. So, we have a lot of confidence. We have a very safe and low impact facility, and it really meets the needs of the customers.
When you're building a facility like this, I mean, you talk about legislation and earthquakes and environmental challenges and all these things. What are some of the roadblocks that come up in a major undertaking like this, especially when it's like, first of its kind category? What sort of pops up to get in the way?
Well, that you hit the nail on the head. Because this is first of its kind, frequently there was no path for us to follow environmentally. So what is this categorized as? So that was a big challenge. Also, because the tires are so large, you just can't pick these up and throw them in back your truck to take them away. So everything we designed had to be uniquely designed for this application. So there's been a tremendous amount of trailblazing for that. Tried to develop technology like this, and also in a place like this, and maybe away from the end use of the ultimate products after we get them to a very purified state. There's a lot of commercial, aspects to it that we have to make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed on that.
With something like the technology, is this, and I was looking up a little bit about it yesterday to try to understand it. I saw a lot of theory papers that engineers had written and things like that. Had this technology been used in this type of application, or did you have to figure out the technology itself and how to make it applicable? As in, what I'm asking is, was it about the investment, or did you have to develop the plant itself to be able to even do it? Yes,
we had to develop that technology. So right from how we handle these tires, how we initially size reduce them, how that material gets fed into the reactors, how the reactors process it, what to do with the downstream materials, how to purify them. Also, a very big component was how do we account in the legislation to give them proof of recycling? The Chile government was they're very, I guess, strict on what is proof. They don't want the tires just to disappear somewhere. So we had to create a framework of we take custody of those tires, rip them in mine. We know what truck it came from, who drove it, what date, the weight of the tires as it goes through the process, say from stockpiling to cutting into the process and out. So we need to account for basically every kilo of that. And then we can say to the government, with backing up from paperwork and records, these tires have actually been recycled. And so that goes back to the customer. They're abiding by the legislation. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work as well, not just the process itself.
Are there, for a plant like this, obviously there's the safety component. I'm sure that was a major thing and it was already touched on. But how do you make a plant like this a safe facility?
This is in La Negra, Chile, so it's on the edge of the Atacama Desert. There's no water there. There's no services there. So on a plant like this, the biggest concern is fire. So we've got very large water reservoirs, water cannons throughout the plant, and storage areas, infrared sensors. We use a special fire encapsulation ingredient that really takes the heat out of any fire that might happen. Also withstanding a very large earthquake. So if that were to happen, we've engineered it to Chile standards, which are extremely high. They know how to build things down there that don't fall down. So all those things go together of trying to make the safest plant as we can.
Is this plant, Scott? Is it fully? Is it operational? Is it operational and at full capacity, or is there still being work done to bring it to full?
Yeah, we started the plant in February this year. So we commissioned our first reactor then, and have been running, tests with that. And we're just getting through commissioning a second reactor. I think our hope is to be operational by this summer and fully in operation by then.
So you built it. It's safe, and now it's getting towards full capacity. What is the end result? What are the actual products? And of course, I mean, people will look it up online and see it. But for the sake of the interview, what is the end product that's actually coming out? Is it 60% of the product is recycled, 90%? Where does it sort of land, and what are the final products?
Oh, that's a great question. To begin with, our capacity is about 20,000 kilos a day of tires, and that's about 5 63-inch tires. We have 2 reactors, so it's a batch system. As one is full, the other one is cooling down, getting unloaded, etc. So at the end of the process, we're left with about 6,500 liters of oil, 4,000 kgs of steel, about 8,000 kgs of carbon black. And it also produces a synthetic gas, which is very interesting because we can capture that and feed it back into the process by turning off external fuel. So the tires themselves produce energy to continue the process. So when you get down to it, it's a pretty cool process and environmentally friendly because of that.
Yeah, I can see why, because I'm not an expert in the way that you are, but I'm familiar with legislation and the Chilean government sort of goals. So I'm sure they were excited when you started having talks about this. Where for the supply side, I mean, obviously you want something like this once it's at full operating capacity. You'll actually need a pretty steady supply. Now, Chile, I was looking up some stats. I don't have them right in front of me, but it's actually staggering the amount of tires that they use in Chile. So where do you get your supply from? Is it just simply the mines are shipping them to you, or are you sourcing them from other countries? Sort of what's the outlook on that?
Yeah, you're right there. There's a mountain of tires, and it is staggering the amount they use. So we get them all. They have to be all local Chile tires to be able to comply to legislation.
Okay.
We've had a couple of great partners, Antofagasta Minerals and Minera Los Pelambres. They've been very supportive to provide us about 2,300 tons of scrap tires. That's about 530 scrap tires. So we have an arrangement with them to, as new tires maybe go to their site, we use the backhauls to get the tires back to our site. This is kind of legislation hasn't started yet. It's pre-legislation. But Antofagasta Minerals want to become the leader in this environmentally sustainable period we are in here. So they've made the choice to go pre-legislation to do this, and I think that's opened up a lot of eyes in the mining industry there of why aren't we doing this as well? So right. we are, I believe we'll be fully at full capacity here in the summertime, fully booked.
Dave, I want to jump over to you. Sorry, I haven't forgotten about you. I want to jump over to talk a little bit about exactly what Scott just touched on is the eyes of the industry on it. Where does it go from here? From the little I know of Kal Tire and Kal Tire Mining Group, I'm thinking they're not just going to do a one-off and call it a day. So what's sort of the outlook of this sort of facility?
I think with most things, there is a snowball effect, especially when it comes to recycling and sustainability. Canadian miners, and again, I'm focused on Canada as well. So Canadian miners have always had that focus on sustainability and good stewardship. In Ontario, there is a recycling program. It may not be as stringent as what they're doing in Chile. But I know at least one customer in Canada, large customer, that is really taking a good focus on this because they really want to get ahead of legislation. It's, to me, and this is just my opinion, the legislation will come. It's the right thing to do. The other part of why we're doing this is to help customers, but also it's the right thing to do. So in Canada, we look at this, what's been done in Chile, as a scalable model. So we can move this to whether it's in Sparwood or Fort McMurray or into Ontario, those kind of things. This is a scalable model that works. And I think that's a key part, is that this one works. As you said, Jared, there's a lot of different theories and papers about how these things work. But as Scott will attest to, until you do this, you haven't done it, right? So, and the good thing for us looking forward is we understand the model, we understand we can scale it, we understand where we could put it. But again, it also needs either the legislation to push it or customers who are wanting to do it as well.
Yeah. Scott, I just got to jump over, and it's for a quick question to you as well, is this, when you're building a plant like this, is the original design the end result, or does it, when you're trying to develop something like this, are there a lot of iterations of it even while you're building it, as you run into different challenges and different systems that you can put in place, and even like sensor technology, as new sensors are coming out even while you're building it? Is there a lot of adapting during it, or is that pretty much set in stone before the shovel hit the ground? There's a point that the design has to be frozen. I mean, you can see the image behind me there. These are huge machines. Mm-hmm. But right now we are going through, let's say, improvements we've noted after our first startup. So we can make some changes there and get a better result, a better process. So it's it is, now that the main equipment is in place, we will be working on the purification aspect of the co-products. Mm-hmm. And from there, we can do a lot of innovation quickly, because I guess the scale is smaller, but the main process already works. It does the work. And now we can really fine tune the end results here. Yeah, in a way, it's going to be very exciting. And of course, you're not going to give timelines or, anything like that, but it'll be very interesting to see the second one go into place. And then Dave, over to you for that. What's the business model behind it? Because when you put in legislation in place, there is a demand. Obviously, there's a demand for it. And I'm sure, you being very plugged into the mining industry in Canada, there's already interest, and I'm sure you've been talking to people. But how do you turn this into a scalable model from a business perspective?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple misnomers right away. And first is that this is a hugely profitable business, and this is what you can do and just retire and do this. That's not the case. It's as Scott alluded to as well. It's very technology advanced, and there's a lot of cost that goes into this kind of endeavor. So whether it's this or devulcanization or any of those kind of things, the tires. The mistake I think that customers or people think is that the tires, just give us the tires, we'll take them for free. There's still a cost model where the tires needs to be, we need to charge for the tires to come in to make this economically viable. And I think that's the biggest thing that people have to understand. As Scott said, as we look at how we can streamline things as technology changes, that dollar figure can come down. But at the beginning of this, the roughly $700 US a ton would be the going rate to have these tires brought in. Now we're able to whittle that down and get the cost down as technology improves, but there is a cost to it. And I think everyone has to remind themselves of that. It's not just that the tires are black gold and everybody wants them. It's a very cost intensive process, and the tires, they still need to be paid for.
And so what do you think is going to be that incentive then? Like Scott, I can't remember which company you said, the two companies that have been supplying the tires, and the one you said wanted to be the leader. My apologies for forgetting it. But is that going to be the motivation, Dave, is these companies that want to get out ahead of it, they want to make the investment? Or is it going to be like in Chile, the legislation is coming, and so companies choose to get out ahead of it? Is it sort of, I know it's a little bit cart before the horse question, but sort of what is going to be that motivation from your personal outlook?
I think it'll be both. I think it all depends on the company and the customer and on where they stand environmentally, but also, how much they have to spend on this kind of stuff. But legislation will make you do it. As we can see in Chile, that'll make you do it. So like I said, there's a couple customers that we've talked to that have started to do this to get that cart before the horse. And again, these are very good initiatives for their company whether it comes to environmental stewardship, their promises to First Nations or any of those kind of things about what they'll do for recycling and to make reclamation better when the mine closes, how to make these things easier. Because that's what we find in Canada. There is no legislation, but when the mine closes, they do have to do something with those tires. They either have to figure out if they're going to bury them or if they're going to move them. Legislation will just make that so they have no choice. They're going to have to get them out sustainably and responsibly.
I've been to those mines. I've actually loaded out tires out of those mines where no operators are there, just the tires.
Yes,
and the machines sitting there. For partnerships and with government, and I, and pardon my ignorance on this, for a plant like this, and either one of you can answer this question, I'm assuming it's not like building a house. You can't just show up and say, hey, we'd like a permit. This land is slated that we are allowed to do it, and we're going to build this. Does it take a lot of collaboration because of the type of facility it is, or is it not too difficult if you've got the demand and everything's set up? But from just a government partnership perspective, how difficult is it to get one of these off the ground?
Speaking from experience in Chile, it was very difficult. It took much more than a year of consultation with the government to get the land for this, first of all. And then the environmental permitting process was, they have extremely stringent regulations that we have to adhere to. So numerous studies, countless meetings with the environmental department on that. Only because it was the first one of its type. So they didn't know how to classify it. So we had to work with them extensively. But, we had to account for every single emission, whether it's air, water, dust.
Right.
They want to know how everything is being apportioned, if there's any waste product, and where's that going to go. So it's a very a lengthy process. We're the first ones in Chile. Another major tire manufacturer just announced theirs. I think we have a 2 or 3 year head start on everybody, just because the length of time and the regulations that you have to adhere to.
So Dave, now if you jump over to a place like Canada, I've never been involved in a project like this. So when you've already built your flagship, let's say, how does that set you up? I know it's sort of an obvious question, but now all that information that you had to provide in Chile, you have that in place. Is that something like a government of Canada? Is that going to expedite the process?
Yeah, obviously the process is expedited, and it would be provincial, right? Depending on where you went.
It's provincial.
It would be provincial. It's a huge advantage that, again, I think it comes to a huge advantage that we've done this. I think from 2 points. One is we can prove that it's been done. And the second is we can prove that it's been safe, or we can prove that it's been sustainable. We can prove that, as Scott said, you can track the tires. So, I know a lot of Canadian customers, what they worry about is chain of custody. So they worry that if they have tires and they go they don't know where they go. So it's really important to say that this tire came in, it got, processed and it went into these different buckets of either carbon black or oil, whatever. So they can feel that confidence that it's not just, we took your tires and we shredded half of it and threw it in the landfill, right? It's that chain of custody is really important. So I think all of those things, as we move this into Canada, become very important going forward.
Scott, what will Scott or Dave, what will the end product, what will be done with it? Will other companies buy it from you, or how will that get distributed? Yeah,
all the products are going local right now. As we get the major or the main process very, let's say, working extremely well, the products is going locally. Our vision is, after we purify the products, there might be export markets for, say, the carbon, where the more rubber manufacturing is going, or ideally back into tires. So that's not done in Chile right now, but we do see export markets for that. Right now, the steel, the oil, the carbon will just be going locally.
Yeah, but the numbers, and you gave them earlier, the numbers are big enough that there is export potential.
Yes.
The product output. Dave, I want last question to you, and this is sort of from that leadership perspective that I think is important. Is we've got a lot of companies that come on that either it's a segment of their business or that they're sort of their innovative side. When we've talked a ton on the show about the sort of the mining industry's acceptance of new technology and the circular economy and all these types of things. When you're just on the ground, we've got a CIM coming up. There's going to be people are going to be talking within the industry. From the point before it actually got started, was there a lot of I guess, for lack of a better word, openness to this concept that Kal Tire was looking at, or once it got going, has there been a lot of interest in it?
It's definitely started to snowball. I can tell you that. And in a lot of ways, it reminds me of autonomous and battery in equipment, where people talked about it, but it really wasn't something tangible. And then once it started to become tangible, then it just seemed that that's all anyone talked about. And we're getting that feeling now. Mm-hmm. At Kal Tire, when we put out the video on LinkedIn of the plant, then it just started to really snowball, where people said, "My gosh, it's real! Like it's actually happening." Yeah. So I think it's that's the best way that I can put it, is that it's starting to gain a lot of traction, and as I said, I don't think it's going to stop, because burying tires or into the ground, it's just not how we can continue to do this. So and at Kal Tire, we're open into many different sets of technology, right? I mean, we're also in the devulcanization space. There's also different ways to do this, and already starting to work with some customers on taking their tires, using them in a devulcanization process, and then creating new tires for them. To put on smaller vehicles. So maybe they come off a 63-inch tire and they go into, a 49-inch tire or something like that on a loader or grader. So there's lots of things to do in this space. I think it just, it all depends on the technology, who's in the market, who can afford to be in this market, right. And what legislation does will drive this, but tons and tons of interest.
Last quick question, just to clarify: will this only be for the large tires, the OTRs?
It can be used on any type of tire or rubber. We're focusing on the large tires. I believe we'll be focusing or also accepting conveyor belting. We know that's kind of the second problem for mines. They've got kilometers of that lying around. So it's all rubber. The process makes the same materials out of it. So we're looking forward to kind of integrating that product into this stream as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've pulled off mine sites. That's lots of fun to deal with. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show. I wanted to, because Dave, we've already covered so much ground. I wanted to really focus in on this episode of Mining Now. So I'm not going to keep you both too much longer, but thanks for coming on the show. I think it's exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in it. You mentioned that post of the video on LinkedIn, Dave, and I was looking at it yesterday. I mean, just hundreds of people liking and comments, and there's a lot of excitement about it. So thanks for coming on the show and unpacking it for us a little bit, Dave and Scott.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. Well, that was short and sweet, Gowdy.
Yes, but it was good.
It was very good. If you're watching this point, you've already seen all the videos and stuff that Gowdy has put over top and pictures of the plant and everything like that. It's very exciting to see it. It's good timing right before CIM that we've launched. Of course, someone could be watching this episode a year later, but for our loyal fans, it's exciting to sort of do this type of episode about innovation and circular economy, recycling right before a major mining event.
Absolutely.
So, Gowdy, where can people follow, like, subscribe, share, comment, and invite themselves on?
Well, definitely contact us, info@crownsman.com, if you would like to be on the show, whether it's Mining Now, Crownsman Energy, or the Crownsman Show. You can also contact us if you'd like to recommend someone, and they should, if you think they should be on the show. That's also good. But absolutely subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We've got 2 episodes a week on there, and more to come. Yeah, so don't miss a single episode.
And don't go camping in April. Thank you, everybody.
If you go, be prepared.
I was prepared, but it was the drawing every little piece off when you get back home. That's the miserable part.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you, Kal Tire Mining Group, for joining us. Dave and Scott. Thank you for CIM for support, and all our sponsors. Keep watching, keep commenting, keep sending us guests. Thank you very much. See you on the next episode of Mining Now.